Welcome to the season 2, episode 1 of Convin Conversations. I'm your host, Ashish Santhalia, CEO of Convin, and I couldn't be more excited to kick off this session with a topic very contact center specific, which leaders really care about, which is cracking the code of reducing AHT and improving call quality. Today, we are thrilled to have Mohit Sidhwani, growth of head at Vyapar, to join us. Vyapar is a standout name in the business management solutions and empowering millions of business owners across India. Mohit has been very instrumental in driving the growth, ensuring the Vyapar's growth over the period in time, and also setting up the Vyapar's customer support and sales operations, which are now top notch across the country. Welcome to the show, Mohit. It's really great to have you here.
Hi Ashish, great to be here. Thank you for having me here.
Great. Mohit, let's start with your journey, right? That's the first thing that I would love to know. Can you tell our listeners a bit about your role as growth head at Vyapar and how are you shaping the success that the company is seeing across all directions?
I joined Vyapar. My journey with Vyapar started about 4.5 years back, in the middle of COVID. Vyapar was then a Series A company and a little well known, but this was pre-COVID, so most of the people in India were not very aware about a product like Vyapar. They knew that accounting and billing softwares exist, but that they also exist in a very user-friendly format was something very new to them. While it's not a category creator in the traditional sense, but in its own sense, it has created a category of all the user-friendly accounting and billing softwares that we see in the country, all the businessman-friendly accounting and billing softwares that we see in the country. And yeah, it's been a very fun ride ever since then. We've had a lot of months, good and bad. We've captured the market in a very blitzkrieg manner, and right now we are the number two software in terms of scale in the country, inching towards being number one.
Nice.
You
That's
don't
very
know.
interesting. If you can also tell us a little bit about your background, where do you come from? How did you land this role, right? What has been your journey so far?
I did my bachelor's in engineering from BITS Pilani, and then I joined Vyapar. This is technically my first job. I joined Vyapar as a product manager. I started handling a few virality product-led growth initiatives that we were doing at the time, along with our distribution front,
Oh,
where we were trying to build a channel partner in order to scale. Because this field or this domain, people in this space have traditionally relied on channel partners to grow, be it
yeah,
Tally or Busy or any other legacy accounting softwares.
yeah.
So I started there. After a couple of years, I had my own stint. I left Vyapar for a short time. I ventured into the crypto markets for a while. Things were good for a while and then they were not. And I decided I was not able to relate with that audience and that market.
Mm-hmm.
I was more suited. I feel it's important to understand which person are you more suited to sell to, or which audience is your audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the space I understand, and this is the audience I like to engage with. So I thought Vyapar is the best place to be in. Why not go back? So ever
Great.
since then, I've been back. Yeah.
But then getting back with a different role altogether, saying that, hey, now you'll head growth and look after growth, not just a specific part of the product. Is that correct?
Yeah, so growth team is a very high ownership team. We all work very closely with Sumit, who is the founder of Vyapar. And shifting from product to growth was more of a personal choice. I felt product management as a domain was not very tickling for me.
Hmm.
I had to learn something. I had to move on to new things, and I thought maybe business will or business aspects of it, or running a company end to end, that will give me a better understanding of that'll just steepen my learning curve a little bit.
Hmm. Nice. Interesting. Very interesting way to look at it. And we have actually followed Vyapar's journey, at least personally, because I had a very good interest in GST in general as an area when it was launched. We also thought that there should be something that should be built. Figured out that Vyapar has already been doing a lot of work and they moved to GST support very, very quickly when it was launched, right? The customer support, when you do at that scale, when you the kind of things that you do at scale, right, for the millions of businesses that you serve, customer support is a crucial touch point, more
Correct.
specifically for your business. because the people who you serve as an audience are small business owners. They might not have used a software at this scale or of this kind in past at any point in time in their life, right?
Correct.
What are some of the biggest changes you have seen in how customer support is handled for such a business, specifically with advancement in AI?
So I would split this question. So before AI, we were smart with our customer support strategies. We were I could have proudly said that we still back in 22, 21, we still had some of the best customer support practices in the industry. Some practices that our customers would vouch for, we were there. And this was all done by being just meticulous, looking at data with the right cuts, and solving for your customers, ensuring that they don't face the same problem again, ensuring that when they face a problem, they are met with empathy and proper solutions instead of putting them on hold, right?
Yeah.
So it was good. With AI, we've been able to go deeper into what we were doing earlier. It
Hmm.
has, I would say, we were short on improvements. We were short on being creative. On it was that good. Our customer support practices were that good that we were short on you know, creative ideas to how to improve further. With AI, we had all of that, right?
Hmm.
We were all of a sudden we were able to analyze our conversations. We were able to understand the root cause of our customer's problem, drill it down into level one, level two, level three,
Hmm.
and obviously Convin has been very helpful in that manner, understanding our customers
Hmm.
and their problems, right?
Hmm.
So AI has definitely enabled that for us.
So you're
Uh,
saying that after what AI has come in with, you're able to understand your customer problems more deeply, maybe level couple of levels deeper, right?
correct,
And then solve for them so that they have better customer experience going forward. Is that what we should think of largely?
correct. Some examples, slightly even unrelated, but yeah, AI has definitely helped with that. International, we have quite a few international customers. Obviously,
Okay.
it's difficult for that set of customers to reach out to our calling team, right? They
True.
don't know how to do that, and we were also short on ways to enable them to do that.
True.
Calling is expensive when you're making a call from, let's say, some country to India. So we had a chat support team for them over
Hmm.
WhatsApp, like a lot of companies do. Now, the next level of problem there is because of the shift timings mismatch, right? We were not able to service them in a very timely manner. They are
Okay.
in some other time zone, we are in some other time zone.
Absolutely.
What AI helped here with was that it helped us with first response time.
Hmm.
As soon as the query comes in, it would solve level one category of problems for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Level two, it will it has taken some time. It will
Yeah.
take a bit more time. It's a spectrum, I would
Yeah.
say. But
Yeah.
yeah, level one problems we've been able to solve for them in a very timely fashion. So that's just one of the many things that he has been very helpful for us.
Very interesting. So you are saying that AI just not helped you understand your customer issues better, it also helped you solve customer issues faster. And maybe the
Correct,
first resolution time, the first interaction time of how quickly you can get back to the customer,
correct,
that has really changed with AI advancement overall.
correct, correct.
Interesting. And it's amazing like how this has happened over the last period of, I think this all of this has happened last 4 5 years only, right? But I'm sure that as you scaled your support team at Vyapar, I'm sure the team has scaled up over a period in time. It would not have started with the size that it is today, right?
Correct.
So from maybe 5 people to 10 people to maybe what number of people that we have today at Vyapar, the challenges would have popped up, right? What were the key challenges you faced in general? And we can talk about the challenges at broad level, and then maybe we can deep dive into the couple of most important challenges from there.
Correct. So broadly, a mental model that works for a very for almost every support function.
Hmm.
We should measure three metrics, right? What percentage of your user base is raising a ticket or a query on a particular time frame in a particular time frame?
Hmm.
The second one is how long are you taking to resolve that query? What is your AHT?
Okay.
The third one is how well are you able to resolve that query, which is your CSAT score or your rating, whatever you call it,
Yes.
right? with scaling, as we scale the support team, what we felt was, and at the same time, we are also doing a lot of product developments, right? In
Hmm.
these years, we've
Yeah.
not just scaled the team and the customers, we've
Yeah.
also improved the depth of the product, the
Yeah.
complications inside the product, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when that happens, the first pinch that you feel is your AHT. Your AHT goes for a toss
Hmm.
because usually a customer when he or she would come,
Hmm.
they would come for a particular issue. They would talk to us about it. If the
Hmm.
issue is a little deeper, the
Hmm.
talk goes for a little more while, right?
Okay. Okay.
But the habit that people in India especially have
Hmm.
is that they would, अच्छा ये भी बता दो. Okay, please tell me this one more thing, another
Hmm.
thing. So
Hmm.
they would just keep asking more and more questions about tangential topics. And
Yeah.
obviously, we are happy to serve that. But that will also impact our AHT, right? So this is a pattern. Now, AHT as a problem, we had to solve for it. Our first call resolution rates.
Hmm.
Now, usually we have, fortunately, we've been people who plan ahead, but we also have had phases where we were lagging the growth of the company. The planning was lagging the growth of the actual growth of the company, right?
Hmm.
When that happens, people you tend to have more queries than more team members who are there to solve for that.
Okay.
So first, that just gives your throws your first call resolution rates
Hmm.
at a toss. You might not be able to, let's say, solve all the problems in the same call, and at the same time, your missed calls, your repeat calls, all of those metrics will keep on degrading until you solve for the skill that you currently have.
And how much of this is a function of, because when you expand team, you get new people into the team. So how much of this is a function of new people getting onboarded and they taking their own sweet time to get ramped up, even after the training is done. And when they get on the floor, it's not that they are 100% perfect. And we all know that, right? So how much of that is a function of new people as well as genuine scale up challenges like more product features, so more areas of support needed now, multiple people trying to reach out through multiple channels, so that becomes an area of concern. How do you handle every channel and how do you maintain your time on every channel, right?
Hmm.
If you can distribute the challenges that you face into these categories, that would be great.
So, a support team member, they usually take about 2 months in order to ramp up, right? Within 2 months, if a support team member is 2 months of an age inside the Vyapar system versus someone who's been in Vyapar for about 8, 9 months, both of them would deliver the same metrics, we have the same expectation from them, right? It is important that we solve for these 2 months. Obviously, you do that with training and mock calls and everything. We can go in that detail. So I would say 25% of the problem is, or rather 30% of the problem is ramping up the quality of the team, right?
Okay. Okay.
Uh, that always sort of degrades with scale, but with the right processes and interventions in place, you can ensure that they don't degrade anymore, right?
Hmm.
So that is definitely one. With about product and normal customer growth,
Hmm.
I would say there are two factors at play.
Hmm.
First is the macro factor. At times, we have been lagging that, where, see, everyone is digitizing, right?
Hmm.
This is a fact that will not change. I
Yeah.
can't change that, and no one can in the country can change that, right?
Yeah.
This is a fact. You can just assume that it's true. Now, the rate of digitization might change.
Hmm.
Government policies might change that. At
Hmm.
times, the policies are quite good for us. They
Hmm.
might result in higher volumes and higher, more number of people reaching out to us.
Yeah.
Case in point, the e-invoice policy, right?
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
the turnover limit has been reduced in the recent years in order for you to have e-invoice. So
Hmm.
those are the phases where we see a lot of demand and a lot of users genuinely curious about the product who come to us.
Yeah.
That is the outside factor. The
Hmm.
internal factor is, let's say, if there is a much awaited feature, or
Hmm.
God forbid, if a feature goes wrong, right?
Yeah.
If there is that almost never happens, but yeah, I can recall a few tough nights
Yeah.
where a few features might have gone wrong in production. That is when our internal planning goes haywire. We see a lot of demand and we see all our metrics going to a sham.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is another challenge. I would say another 30-40% would be this one. And the rest 30-40% would be just things that are not too much in your control. These are things that are not constant also all the time. These
Yeah.
things vary from time to time.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's very interesting. So, if I have to summarize, what you're saying is there could be multiple factors, internal, external, which led to growth of these issues coming up. Could be about ramp up of the team, could be about maybe new regulation coming out in the market, or maybe a feature that has went wrong, right? That could really bump up your cases of support that needs to be handled. And most of the time, the issues or the matrices that you really track to see if something is going wrong or not, is that AHT, FCR, and CSAT? Are these the top three matrices that you track to see whether what quality
Miss call. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I'm very curious to understand if these are the top three matrices and you track something else beyond these for your business specifically, or these are the only I mean, the three things that you really track or you really worry about.
We also track missed calls very meticulously. So usually we also look at missed calls into within business hours and outside of business hours, and we slice and dice into the days and the weeks and everything. So that is the fourth metric that we are very passionate about.
Hmm. Understood. Understood. That's very interesting. And I'm assuming that most of your processes, most of your work that you do, the strategies that you make will revolve around the top three ones specifically at all points in time. You'll keep a consistent track to it and then make sure that you have targets set every quarter to improve, right?
Correct. So if you have to ask me, I would say for us as a company, missed calls and CSAT are the core metrics, not just for the support team, but for us as a company.
Mhm.
CSAT comes first, right? I think it's a very good mirror for you to have,
Yeah.
for any company to look at how your customers perceive yourself.
Mm.
Then comes missed call, where you ensure that you are always available for the customers whenever they need you, right?
Mm.
That has also been one of the core tenets of not just the customer support function, but the entire company.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
us at some point have taken support calls, and these are not even support calls from the normal channel. These are
Yeah.
support calls because customers tend to know you.
Mm.
Customers tend to know, oh, I know this guy. He had called me for a user research at Vyapar, and
Mm.
maybe I'll call him up and I'll just talk to him,
Yeah.
right? CSAT missed calls.
Mm.
AHT is a function of efficiency, or
Mm-hmm.
rather AHT is a metric that impacts efficiency, right? All your
Mm.
cost metrics, because support is a cost function, it's not a revenue function,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful of your costs in a function like support, which is
Mm.
extremely critical, but at the same time it's not adding value to your top line.
I wanted to ask you about that as well, right? A lot of time when you say that CSAT is your top metric that you really want to optimize for, how do you objectively identify the value that CSAT creates for you in terms of top line? Do you have absolutely some way to relate it, saying that look, if the customer CSAT is beyond 80, maybe the renewal chances is going up by 30%, and hence here is this improvement in top line. Or maybe if a customer sentiment over the last 10 interactions has been great, the chances of customer renewing with us is 30% or 50% higher. Are you able to today relate all of that matrices, which are, let's say, AHT, CSAT, FCR, sentiment, to the top line somehow, or that is still right now abstract?
A bit of both.
Okay.
At a smaller scale, it will be difficult for any company to correlate CSAT with their own meaningful metric, right? For a
Hmm.
SaaS company, the most meaningful metric is renewals, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because you want that revenue to compound, especially if you have a very limited audience. But
Hmm.
applicable for almost every SaaS company out there. You want your revenue to compound.
Yeah.
Initially, it might be difficult for you to look at or correlate your CSAT scores with your renewals because you're too young of a company. With
Hmm.
time, your hunch, because everyone knows if your CSATs are good, your renewal may be good. This is a hunch that is not rocket science. Is something that almost everyone who is starting up can think of.
Yeah. Yeah.
With time, that blurry picture might start getting more clearer, right?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
might actually be able to look at that data and you might actually be able to say it or show it with confidence that, oh yeah, my CSAT is very important, very critical for my renewal to thrive.
Hmm.
So let me just focus on CSAT now.
Understood. Understood. And if we talk about, let's say, CSAT a little bit more here,
Hmm.
just trying to go deep dive into it properly. Most of the people measure CSAT through a survey, right? So after the call has been done, a survey goes out. You try to get to the CSAT scores, look at the CSAT scores, try to map it with the conversation and everything, and try to understand it. The most important issue they face is that they have about at max 15% response rate, right, that they get.
Correct.
Most of the time they don't get to hear from the customers around it, right? How have you been able to go around this particular part? Have you been able to figure out a solution to this, or there's something that people need to learn from you where you are seeing more better response rates in general?
So I think during the course of the company's context building, right, you tend to unravel all of these things. About the fact that that the response rate of people filling up that CSAT form is quite low usually. That's
Hmm.
true. But at the same time, we've also seen that people who are happy with you will not rate you,
Hmm.
but the one who is unhappy will definitely rate you.
Hmm.
That means your CSAT, the actual CSAT is at least slightly better than your reported CSAT.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because the happy ones are that's a norm for them, right? They expect you to solve their problem. But the
Hmm.
unhappy ones will come forward and will rate you back. So yeah, that gives you a good learning. And
Hmm.
even this 15% Ashish, I would say it's important to decouple CSAT in a way that we've done. Quite a few times we would get ratings. See, anyway, that number is not even 50%, 15%, right? Barely 5% of the people will come to you and rate their experience with your support team. Within that 5%, what people usually feel is when you're collecting feedback about their customer support experience, they would usually sometimes give feedback about something else, right?
Hmm.
Let's give an example. What we analyzed once was that a few people, when one of the features was not working as per expectation, they reached out to our support team. We asked them, how would you rate our customer support executive? The ratings there were actually for the product feature that they actually gave. So they were thinking that I'm rating the feature, but they were actually rating the company, the customer support executive as 1 star. So
Hmm.
it's important to decouple agent versus product ratings during these phases also.
That's
The
very interesting.
5% is not just customer support rating, it's
Yeah.
actually your product rating as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think you have pointed it out very, very properly. If we switch gears from CSAT, which I understand, how do you measure? How do you look at it today? Do you measure it through usual channels only, like sending surveys and everything? There's nothing extra that
Yes,
you're doing
yes,
on top of it.
yes, yes.
Okay, understood. How are you thinking about AHT? When you scaled up, I'm sure AHT would have, let's say, a little bit gone up because new people in the team. Average handling time generally goes up as well because they're not 100% trained on the vast product like Vyapar, right? What were the specific issues that were contributing to this larger handling times in general that you noticed beyond these couple of factors that I suggested? And would love to understand how do
Hmm.
you go about resolving all of that in a longer period in time.
So AHT is definitely a double-edged sword, right? It's a metric that you cannot stop with brute force, or you cannot reduce with brute force. When you give your team targets of CSAT, they might actually start getting better at their jobs, be more polite and empathetic, know better, try to understand the issue better and try to resolve the issue in a more timely manner. But with average handling time, AHT, that is not the case. When you give a target of AHT or when you take a target of AHT, you might be in a hurry to just end the call, right? And we don't want that. We don't want the customer experience to get impacted because of the internal bottom line target that we have taken, which is AHT. AHT is a very meaningful bottom line target. And it definitely pinches as you scale. What has worked for us here is understanding or drilling down into the customer issues into level one, level two, level three, right? What I mean by that is a customer might come for a particular issue, but he's talking about 10 different issues in that call. The agent the customer support executive, he or she might tag that call for a particular issue A, but that issue belong to categories A, B, C, and D, right? I think AI has definitely helped us on that front, and especially our engagement with Convin over the last year and a half has definitely helped us improve on that front. So it has helped us identify all the issues that the customer spoke about in their calls in a fashion that no human would have ever been able to do, right?
Yeah, because of the scale of the conversation that you have today.
Exactly. We have about close to 2 lakh conversations in a month. That's a humongous number, and I don't think anyone in this industry is doing that number. Understanding or getting insights from such a scale is very difficult because your audit team will also barely audit 1 to 2% of the calls. Now, if a human is trying to categorize those calls and trying to help us get to level three insights, right? It's not possible. And I feel you guys have really solved that major problem for us.
No, absolutely. We love that, feedback as well. Also, I have one more questions around the AHT only very quickly because it's a very important topic. It also correlates to your cost directly. More AHT means more number of agents that you will have to hire for, let's say, serving those 2 lakh conversations, and essentially increases your cost center as well, right? Once you have identified the root causes, let's say, of why something is leading to an AHT or what is leading to an AHT increase, how do you really solve for it going forward as a process? Do you build a process around it? Maybe if you can take an example, we would love to, or our audience would love to really know that.
I would say there are three aspects to this question. Our current mental model works on three fronts, right? Why would AHT of any customer support team be high? Either they lack training. Second, they have all the necessary training, but they are not currently empowered to answer the queries in a more time efficient manner. And third, the product itself is not suited. The product itself can solve that query from coming in the first place, right? A lot of when we've used your insights and drilled deeper into our own AHT reality, we figured there were a lot of cases where AHT was high for those issues, but those are issues that should not even have come up in the first place, right? Those are very solvable issues. We've just not done it because we did not have those learnings or those insights. Because of, again, incorrect call tagging or incomplete call tagging, I would say. Right? So, better training. Now, here we have to identify which team members need training on what topic. I feel AI solutions have really improved on that front. Which agent needs help and what does he need help on? That is why his overall AHT is high. That is something that you can do very well at this day and age, right? On the similar front, when you identified which agents to train, you also then have to train them. On that front, when you have a support team that is a few hundred people, the overhead expenses also add up. So you need a very robust training methodology where even for the most minute gaps in the, let's say if someone is not, let's say if the learning is people who say good morning and greet you versus people who don't say good morning and greet you has some implication. While we are talking about AHT, but let's say some implication on CSAT, right? Now, how do you train them? For major issues, yes, you need in-person training today. You need to make them understand. But a lot of, I would say by a lot, I mean 70 to 80% of the retraining exercises can be done with a robust LMS solution. Again, we've been very grateful for you guys to have that.
Sure.
So yeah, we identify which agents to train. We've
Mhm.
created modules that are dedicated for those topics on our Convin's LMS portal,
Mhm.
and we just then assign those modules to respective agents who then go through the modules, try to improve themselves, and then we over time see results.
Nice, very
That is
interesting.
about better training. Yeah,
So you'll be able to identify the areas of improvement, and then you will be able to put up very custom coaching sessions for those people so that they can improve over the period in time. If it is
correct,
a person-related issue, if it is
correct,
something else, you have been able to solve through product or through something else, which again
correct,
you get insight out of analysis of so many conversations that you do.
correct, correct.
Got it.
One more thing here was about empowering the team. I feel a lot of issues cannot be resolved or may be very difficult to resolve with product.
Yeah.
So you have that trade-off. Should we resolve this or should we do something else? Always a conundrum in any product team, right? So in such a scenario, you also need to make sure that your team is enabled. Your
Hmm.
customer support team is enabled with the right utilities and the right tools for them to act in a timely manner and impact and or does not let that impact their AHTs.
Hmm. 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 Fair point. Very fair point. Adding to the AHT and maybe getting FCR also in the conversations, both are like double-edged sword, right? You cannot say that, hey, I'll only improve AHT. You also want to make sure that the customers get the resolution in the first call itself, or the first interaction or touch point itself, right? How do you balance both of them today at the company?
So over the last 2 years, Ashish,
Hmm.
we have gone away with it. We have right now, I would say 0% of our issues lead to a second call.
Wow, that's very impressive.
The only cases where it would happen
Hmm.
is when, because India is a very, very vernacular country, right?
Yeah,
So the
true.
only cases where it would happen, it would lead to a second call is when we don't have, or the agent, we don't have an agent who speaks that language,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Fair.
Or is comfortable in that language. So
Hmm.
in those cases, there is outbound process that we have, and we reach out to the customer in the language they are comfortable with, and we resolve that. But in all the other cases, as soon as the first call is connected, it is
Yeah.
bound to be, resolved in the same call.
In the first case. And I'm sure you would have worked actively on this number, right? Getting to like 100% FCR is a impressive feat in itself. So I'm sure you would have worked very, very actively around this as a target.
Definitely. So, see, the only reason why it should not be there is when your customer support team is not full of Swiss knives, right? When they are specialized into some features on some zone of features.
Hmm.
That is the only reason where you should not have 100% FCR. Some companies also try to divide their customer support team into level 1 calls and level 2 calls. I feel that is also a practice of the past. You with the tools available right now, you can allow side barging in of, let's say, some subject matter expert who is on the floor, or even let AI go crazy with it. AI has we were still experimenting with it, but AI can also be a very reliable co-pilot in cases where agent is not very well equipped to solve that query. Again, this is early stages for us experimenting, but I hope this will further help us improve our metrics down the line.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. If I have to marry all the three important matrices that we just talked about, AHT, FCR, CSAT, when you think about these key driving forces around measuring whether your quality function or the support function is doing great or not, do you look at solving problems with one strategy, all the three problems, or do you try to deploy different strategies for these different problem statements to solve for? Have you been able to maybe uncover a couple of things, if done right in a support case, would really help with all the three things at once?
This is a good question. I would say AHT and CSAT are coupled to some extent
Okay, okay.
in their solutions,
Hmm.
right? Because one aspect of the solution, which is retraining of the team members is equally has proven to be equally critical for improving CSAT and
Mhm.
at the same time reducing AHT. FCR, not so much.
Mhm.
FCR is something that you can solve with better planning, better team rosters, and better and more first principle driven processes. But
Hmm.
AHT and CSAT have some coupling in them, definitely.
Nice. Interesting. So in the terms of solutioning it, right? So for example, if you're implementing a solution of for AHT, which is let's say training the agent with the relevant problem statements that they're struggling with, it could also lead to a lot of improvement in CSAT as well. That
Correct, correct, correct.
that's
Because
that's fair as well.
longer AHTs also tend to have poorer CSATs, right?
True,
A
true.
call which can be solved in 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's taking 20 minutes to solve,
Mm-hmm.
it would naturally build up the frustration in the customer. So there is only one solution for that. It's very first principle driven. There is only one solution for that. You need to have or empower or train your agents better.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very interesting, Mohit. This has been such an insightful discussion. But before we wrap up, one of the specific things for our listeners who are looking to work on these specific matrices, there's leaders of multiple companies who would be hearing this around reducing AHT, improving FCR, and CSAT. What is one thing that you think is counterintuitive but really works well? When applied, and maybe people would not think that this will work well, but when applied it really works well to improve these things, if you have been able to figure out something like that.
I would say the pattern I see usually people follow is very rejective of having a customer support team in the first place, or
Hmm.
uh, busying them or loading them with customer queries in the first place.
Hmm.
Most of the companies out there make it extremely difficult for their customers to reach out to their customer support team,
Okay,
right?
okay.
I feel this is not counterintuitive at all. At least for me, it seems very intuitive. But this is what the general practice seems to be in the industry,
Hmm.
that you make it difficult for add multiple steps. If it's a chatbot, add like five, 6 steps in the
Yeah.
chatbot. Only then you're allowed to make a call, right?
Yeah.
People tend to do that. Companies tend to do that. I
So you're
think
saying.
in the longer term, it's very counterproductive. It will, there is no way that the customer is going to end up happy in that interaction with your company. See, most customers will not interact with you, with your company or your brand every day, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Depending on what kind of a brand you are, it could be a few times in a week to a few times in a year, right?
Hmm.
So, in the limited amount of interactions your customers have, why give them a poor experience? It's very
Hmm.
first principle driven, but at the same time, I see companies struggle with it or go in the complete opposite direction just to improve their bottom line, reduce costs, and try to reduce the burn or whatever.
Hmm. That's very interesting and that's very helpful as well. This thanks for putting up so much time, Mohit, making this an extremely insightful discussion. It has been pleasure hearing really about what Vyapar has been able to achieve and how you have really figured out more important things around how do you improve AHT, CSAT, FCR, all at the same time. Achieving 100% FCR, I mean, that's a very impressive feat, very, very honestly. If you enjoyed this conversation and you would want multiple other conversations, don't forget to subscribe. We'll come back again next week with another episode of Convin Conversations. Until next time, take care. Thank you.